Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Fuel for Success. It is Monday morning, and I'm excited today. It's episode number 49, and I've got the one and only Dr. Charles Sefcik with us here this morning. As you know, every Monday we talk about health and weight loss, and Charles is a good friend of mine. I've known him for years. He's impacted me in my life in more ways than I can even count, and we're blessed to have him here on the show today. He's an expert in so many fields. He could literally probably talk the next 40 hours straight about health and weight loss and blow you all away. So Charles is he's a chiropractic neurologist, and he's also a clinical nutritionist. He's got a lot of school. He's extremely smart, and he's got a lot of free resources online that we'll get you to in a little bit. Good morning, Charles.
Good morning, Mike. Let me start by saying a big happy birthday to you today as well. I know you didn't expect that, but today is your birthday, so happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. I'm having a little bit of a technical issue here, so just give me just a second. I'm overdriving my system a bit. So, hey, Charles, if you don't mind, could you tell us just a little bit about yourself, where you live, that sort of thing?
Yeah, no problem. So I live in Bismarck, North Dakota, and I think we reached a balmy 45 degrees yesterday, so we're in a heat wave. I am married to the girl of my dreams, Jendi. We've been married for 13 years, and we have three children. I've got two boys, Ethan and Aiden. They're 9 and 6, and my little princess, JL, turns 4 in 2 days. So we stay busy, active at home, and God's blessed me with a great family. And I practice at a Life Enhancement Clinic. This is a clinic that I started in Bismarck, North Dakota in 2005. As a chiropractic neurologist and a clinical nutritionist, we had something unique to offer the community. And we started really the Life Enhancement Clinic to do just that and enhance people's lives. And we use the chiropractic adjustment. We use brain balancing techniques. We use clinical nutrition. We use stress management, weight loss, these kind of things to really help improve people's lives.
Sure. Well, that's awesome. Hey, I want to encourage everyone, of course, to interact. Most of you are familiar with this platform, Spreecast, but click on, over there. You can type questions, and also down below, click on the question box to ask questions for our guest here today, Dr. Charles. And we were talking, before the show, and you mentioned a concept to me that I wasn't really familiar with, which was the Mount Rushmore of chronic disease. Can you expound on that a little bit and kind of tell our viewers what that Mount Rushmore concept is?
Yeah, I really kind of borrowed that Mount Rushmore concept. You hear about it in sports. They try to rank the top football teams, or you hear about it in different categories, and they're trying to rank the top 4 or something. They'll talk about the Mount Rushmore of that category or genre. The Mount Rushmore of chronic illness really is summarized, I think, in 4 things. That's stress, toxins, malnutrition, and a physical sedentary lifestyle. So if it comes right down to it, and you're struggling with some kind of health issue, whether it be diabetes or high cholesterol, high blood pressure, even cancer, these kind of things really can be summarized as being contributed to by stress, toxins, malnutrition, and a physical sedentary lifestyle. When you make some changes in each of those areas, you're going to get a really profound effect. It's kind of leveraging your system, finding what that longest lever is to have the most impact on your health. And by changing one of those 4 things, you can create some really quick, long-lasting, and life-changing changes.
That's so. Those concepts of, as far as the top 4, I like that, because that's something you can kind of get in your head and understand.
Right.
So that not only applies to diseases and so forth, but other areas of health and weight loss and so forth as well. Correct?
Correct. So, if you want to, and I'll just kind of start. If you want to interrupt, be sure to interrupt. But, when you look at, let's just take weight loss, for example, because I think we know that we're facing an obesity epidemic. I just had actually a young patient in my office a couple weeks ago. He was 5 years old and severely obese. And so why we see this Stress, toxins, malnutrition, physical sedentary lifestyle will explain this. Now let's talk about stress for a moment. I know, Mike, you probably have no clue what stress is about. I mean, you're living the stress-free life, right? No,
Right,
when
right.
we all face stress, and stress can really be summarized as a physical stress. Maybe you're in a car accident, you slipped on the ice. Well, guys down in Florida don't slip on the ice, but guys up here in North Dakota, they slip on the ice, the trauma to their body. It can be an emotional stress. It can be an inflammatory stress, which really comes from diet or gut problems.
Right.
It's very important for people to understand as well that perceived stress is just as real stress. Now, I'm I'm sitting here in my office with my my door closed, but if I thought that there was a fire outside of this office, and I really thought there was, I would be at the exact same physiological response of my hormones as if there was a real fire and it was just my thinking that there's a fire. So a lot of times people have these traumas in their life, these past mistakes or past failures or emotional traumas or baggage they're carrying on to, and it takes a trigger that makes them think that something it's still there, and it's not. But it creates the same chronic stress response. Or let's say you have someone who is sensitive to a food. Let's just take wheat, for example. Wheat's a big trigger for a lot of people. And if they're eating something that's, one man's meat is another man's poison. So let's say that you're sensitive to wheat. Every time that you consume wheat, you're triggering an inflammatory stress response in your body. You're making these stress hormones rise. Now, what stress hormones do, they are protective. You need that fight or flight response. If you get in an accident or trauma, you want that fight or flight response. If you're being, chased by a lion, you want that fight or flight response, but it should be very short-lived and very controlled. When it gets out of hand, you have the stress hormone called cortisol. Okay, that's the hormone of stress. And when that's secreted to try to, buffer you against the stress response, it blocks your thyroid hormone. Now, many of your viewers are probably familiar with the importance of the thyroid gland in metabolism. If the thyroid hormone's not working properly in the body, your metabolism shuts down. So stress can actually cause weight gain just by slowing down your metabolism. You can actually decrease thyroid output by 40% after a stressful response. And so just that alone can create weight gain. So that's one way rather that stress can create or contribute to a weight gain.
Mm, wow, that's amazing. Can you talk a little bit about toxins? We've spoken a few times about detoxing and toxins in our lives. Just speak a little bit to that topic, if you don't mind.
No doubt toxins are one of the largest contributors to disease right now. You hear a lot of people saying that detoxification is a fad, that toxin exposure is not legitimate. That is absolutely not true. It is a very real condition. It's in the published literature. It's been known for decades. And what we do know is this: it's ubiquitous. It affects all of us. And I'll joke with patients and say, well, the only way you could escape toxins is to live inside a plastic bubble. But no, wait, that's a plastic bubble. So there is no way to avoid toxins. We get them in the food that we eat. We get them in the air that we breathe, in the water that we drink. We're exposed to toxins. Now, our bodies are designed by God to filter out these things. We use our liver, we use our kidney, and we use our bowels to detoxify these compounds out of our body. What happens, though, is if we are under stress, if we're malnourished, if we're physically inactive, or we're exposed to too many toxins, they begin to bioaccumulate, okay? All toxins are fat soluble. So what your body does is say, hey, I've got a multitude of toxins that I can't deal with right now, so I'm going to throw them in a closet. And that closet is a fat cell. Well, when it runs out of closet spaces, it's like, hey, I'll just add more fat cells. I'll make my fat cells larger just so I can try to clean up. We know that there is a 6-stage process that your physiology goes through. It's called homotoxicology, how toxins affect a human. And each stage progresses and advances as you go through. The big player though is to really say, hey, I want to eliminate my toxin exposure. I want to try to eat organic whenever I can. I want to, there is a great website that your viewers can check out. It's called the Environmental Working Group, EWG.org. And this is a nonprofit organization that puts out tremendous information on the effect of body burden toxins. And they have a website called Skin Deep Cosmetic Database. So you've got a lot of women that are using lotions, and they're using the anti-age creams, and they're using these things that are actually causing toxicity to accumulate in the body. We're going to be getting into, well, hopefully in North Dakota soon, a planting season. We love to garden, and so when my wife and her cousin have a great garden last year, it was all organic. We didn't use any herbicides or pesticides or fungicides, things like that, to try to reduce our exposure to toxins. So you want to, first of all, avoid your exposure, but then you want to do things that you can help to get those toxins out of the body. There are foods, for example, there are cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, artichokes, Brussels sprouts. These kind of foods are critical in really helping that liver, that filter of the body, detoxify. And there are foods that you can use, garlic and onion and the spices, to help the gut, which will help detoxification as well.
What was that word you used? Cruciferous?
Cruciferous. That is a type of vegetable that the broccoli and the cauliflower kind of fall into. And those are foods that are known to be anti-cancer. They decrease risk of breast cancer, prostate cancer, colon cancer, ovarian cancer. So very good to have that. So it's Cruciferous, cruciferous.
Awesome. A word I've never heard before. I'm actually thinking that I should probably start making little hash marks on my whiteboard every time you say a word that has more than 4 syllables.
Yeah.
Is that right? Cruciferous. Okay.
Perfect.
That's amazing. And as you're explaining these, we talked a little bit about stress and a little bit about toxins, and I'm seeing the interrelation of these top 4 when it comes to things like weight loss and it comes to things like chronic disease, that they all interplay together. Is that right?
Correct. Exactly. That's
So
what you'll find.
Go ahead.
Well, you're exactly right. Because a lot of times people are looking for that pill for an ill. They've got high blood pressure, so they want to go to the doctor and get the one medication for high blood pressure. That doesn't work that way. So the pill for an ill really is a bad way to try to be healthy. What you want to do is, since they all are interconnected, I use the concept of a spider web. And if I hit a strand of a spider web on one corner, I'm going to see the effect across the entire web. The more you can do to improve your health, the greater the results, and the faster the results will be. But I really encourage people, anytime you incur a lifestyle change, it can seem overwhelming. I was at Barnes & Noble over the weekend and just walking through the health section, and it can be very overwhelming, the amount of information that's out there. And so really I encourage my patients, choose one thing. And I had a gal come in, and she said, dealt with an afternoon decline of energy, had migraine headaches for 8 years. She relied on 2 cans of Mountain Dew every afternoon to get her through the rest of her day. And I'm like, that's disease waiting to happen, okay? And so she comes back in a couple of weeks and she goes, listen, no more headaches after 8 years, no more energy decline in the afternoon. I said, what'd you do? The only thing she did was she made sure she drank half her weight in ounces of water, pure filtered water, every day. And she said, by doing that, I did not need to take any of the Mountain Dew any longer. By adding in the good, it automatically pushed out the bad, and she gets rid of 8 years of headaches and an energy decline in the afternoon just by adding water. So that was her one thing that she chose to work on. When she mastered that, she said, I'm going to start adding this in. So they can just, it's a lifelong journey. It's not this, I got to do everything overnight. But making these changes, having a plan, writing it down, writing those goals down and setting a calendar and Xing it out and saying, this is what I'm going to do this 2 weeks or this week or this month is a huge benefit to people.
That's good. A quick question from Gary. He's asking, should you eat those cruciferous foods raw?
Great question. And so big shout out to Gary. What a great guy there. And So here's a situation with the cruciferous vegetables and raw vegetables. We want to consume at least, I would say, at least 50% of our diet raw. Now, here's the conundrum. A lot of sick people have really um, sick guts. Okay? So if the gut is leaky and the gut can't absorb nutrients, raw vegetables can actually be quite difficult on the gut. So these are the individuals that might try a raw foods diet and become discouraged because they actually have a lot of digestive upset. These are the ones that say it's okay to saute your vegetables. We do stir fries at our home a lot. So you can saute, you can steam, you can roast, you can cook your vegetables to help the absorption for you, the digestion process. Now, let's say, for example, this is pretty new, came out in the last couple months. Those individuals that use a lot of raw kale. Now, kale is a popular. I love kale. Kale chips is like my go-to snack at home. One of my favorite things to have. We add kale to our Vitamix for juice smoothies. But a lot of people that if they consume a lot of kale, we're talking like cups and cups of kale every single day raw, it can negatively affect the thyroid. So we say rotate the greens, and kale's the only one we know about right now that has that goitrogenic effect where it can negatively affect the thyroid. But I'd say don't not eat greens. Greens are good. Just make sure if you're
Right.
doing kale, rotate it, cook it every once in a while. And with the cruciferous vegetables, eat some raw, eat some steamed, but just get them in. Increase the consumption.
Right. Now, what kind of greens do you typically rotate with your kale, or would you recommend?
S- any greens. Any greens. It literally is, greens are like you can't get too many, and so they're very alkalizing to the body. They're a good source of minerals. They're a great source of magnesium. So I say literally just go nuts on greens.
That's good. Um, Serge asks, can we mitigate the amount of toxins that we take in by ensuring that we stick to organics and non-GMO foods?
Yeah, great question, and actually a very informed question too. So sounds like this guy's doing his homework because here's the situation. We have this idea that, oh, organic is a fad and it doesn't really worth the cost. I think organic is definitely worth the cost, especially when it comes to meat and dairy. And there, again, the Environmental Working Group, that website we shared earlier, has a list of the called the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. They give you the top 12 foods that are the most pesticide ridden. When
Hmm.
you choose organic, you are no doubt limiting and reducing your exposure to toxins. Now, the GMO question is a great question because GMO is genetically modified organisms. These are 90% of the corn in the United States is genetically engineered. 85+% of all soy in the United States is genetically engineered. There is a direct correlation between the consumption of GMO foods and conditions like ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, inflammatory bowel disease, irritable bowel syndrome, and colon cancer. There's a direct correlation here. So when you read a label, if it says corn or if it says soy, if it does not say that these products contain non-genetically engineered products, take it to the bank. They've been genetically engineered. And the consumption of that, we could get into a huge discussion on just genetic engineering. They're taking something live, putting it into a product. You ingest, for example, a BT toxin. When that toxin comes into your body, it becomes a part of you. So you're ingesting something that is a pesticide. So it's not a good idea. So limiting those genetically engineered foods is important. And corn and soy, canola oil, for example, unless it says organic, non-GMO, those are the big sources of genetic engineered foods.
It's good stuff. I was, as you were explaining that, I was remembering, we've spent some time together, traveling across North Dakota to go bird hunting and other things. And typically, when we get into conversations about these things, there's so many different topics and so much information that you download on me. And I was thinking about that, and I kind of missed that. I think we talked a little before the show. We didn't go bird hunting for a couple of years, so I missed that. But hey, Carlos from Costa Rica is asking a question. He wants to lose weight. Can you name top like 10 foods that he should completely avoid or partially avoid?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I don't know if I'll try to count in my head. If I don't get 10, well, please forgive me. But
Okay.
I think the biggest things to incorporate when you're trying to lose weight, let's start with the macronutrients. So macronutrients are really your protein, your fat, your carbohydrate, and your fiber. Okay? So let's ensure that we get adequate protein. And now you're like, well, how much protein is how much protein? You need enough protein to maintain your lean muscle mass. Okay? That depends on your health level. That depends on your health goals. It depends on kidney function. It depends on a lot of things. It really comes to be about 1 gram per kilogram of body weight in protein. But it needs to be a clean protein. Chicken, turkey, fish, wild game, buffalo, quinoa. Soy is a healthy protein if you're not sensitive to it and if it's not genetically engineered. The next thing you want to do is add more fats. Okay? Good fats, avocados, olive oil. Coconut oil is probably one of my favorite fats to use. It's a medium chain triglyceride. Gets right into the cells. Very, very healthy. So I'm just kind of looking at the side here as I do this, and someone said, what about whey protein shakes? Mary asked that question. I love whey protein. Again, you want to make sure you're using a reputable company that has a clean whey protein source. That's the biggest thing, because whey protein, though, actually increases glutathione, which is a detoxifying antioxidant. So you've got your protein, you've got your fats, you've got your carbohydrates. You want to choose the low glycemic index carbs. Now, there might be some viewers that are not familiar with the term glycemic index. What that means is, if I eat a piece of white bread or a spoonful of sugar, I'm going to spike my blood sugars through the roof immediately. So what I want to do is choose foods that won't spike my sugars dramatically. That's low glycemic index. No question that if I have 200 calories of broccoli and 200 calories of Krispy Kreme donuts, that there's going to be a difference. They're both going to have carbohydrates, but the Krispy Kreme is going to spike my sugars and cause insulin resistance and diabetes. The broccoli is going to make my insulin very low and my blood sugar is very low. And then next is fiber. We do not, in the United States, do not get enough fiber. Women need about 30 to 35 grams of fiber every day. Men need 35 to 40 grams of fiber a day. Best way to get that? Vegetables, legumes, nuts, and seeds. So the top foods to avoid, one is the food that you're sensitive to. So I in my on my website, ldclinic.com, your viewers can watch some free webinars that I did. And I talk about a modified elimination diet where we take people off of wheat and dairy and corn and soy and sugar for 30 days. And when we stop those foods, after 30 days, they add them back in and they say, do I get an adverse reaction to any of those foods? And if they do, that's a food trigger, and they avoid that food. So if wheat is your trigger, you've got to stop eating wheat, because every time you eat wheat, it's going to make you fat. Now, potatoes, white potatoes are very fattening foods. Everybody loves the oat bran muffins for breakfast, and that's adding pounds. So you go to a conference, you go to a meeting, and you go to the back of the table, and they've got the spread of pastries, and you've got the health-conscious people saying, well, I'm going to choose the oat bran muffin because it's whole grains. That spikes the sugars very high, and that's going to cause some weight gain as well. So avoiding those refined carbohydrates is very important to do. So I hope that kind of answered the question.
Yeah, I think that more than answered the question. Carlos just doesn't have any buffalo in Costa Rica, so we're going to have to ship him some. Actually, Carlos had another question. He drinks plain green tea and oats mixed in water daily. Does that help in losing weight?
Well, green tea is great. I'm a big fan of green tea. Green tea actually has a couple of different things. It's thermogenic, which means it does increase the cellular metabolism, which will help your body burn calories more effectively. So it's thermogenic. It does burn fat. Green tea also contains an amino acid called theanine, and theanine is a precursor to the neurotransmitter called GABA. That's our anti-stress, anti-anxiety neurotransmitter. So you're going to really help the weight loss goal just by drinking green tea, because the effects it has on stress. Okay. Now oats are a great source. Again, what you want to do with the oats, make sure that I would add some protein with that. So I would say you're going to do the oat mix with the green tea and water. I would say have some kind of protein with that. That would be my recommendation.
Okay.
I, if you're not sensitive to eggs, I love eggs. You know, and is Carlos the one from Costa Rica without the
Yes.
buffalo? I bet
Right.
you they have chickens in Costa Rica. And so if we can get some good eggs, and if he's not sensitive to eggs, that's a great source of protein. So I'm thinking a hard-boiled egg with that green tea oats mix that he's doing would be a great option.
What do you mean good eggs?
Okay, so you know, chickens are supposed to uh, chickens are supposed to do chicken things, right? They're supposed to like go around and just pick on bugs and pick on grass. They're not meant to be herded into a pen and have like 10 million chickens in on top of each other laying eggs in like this factory kind of farming deal. So I tell people you want to get organic eggs if all possible. So in the United States we have that USDA organic label. You want to get organic eggs if you can. Or you want to go to a farmer friend that has some chickens that are just doing chicken things on the farm and get eggs from them. So that's really what you want to do. That's good
That's a
eggs.
good eggs. That's a good eggs. Hey, a couple of quick questions. Mary asked kind of a follow-up. Eggs are good if we eat the whole thing, right?
Correct. Yeah. The whole deal about eggs, raising cholesterol and eggs being bad, that has been like debunked. Okay? Eggs are very good. The only problem would be if you have a sensitivity to the protein found in eggs. But eggs contain choline, which helps protect the brain, prevents Alzheimer's disease. It's a great source of protein, so yeah, eat the whole thing.
Good. Hey, Dawn's asking, she can't eat nuts or seeds, and that eliminates a lot of good food. Do you have suggestions for her to sort of replace that in her diet?
Yeah, and there's actually quite a few people that can't consume nuts or seeds, whether due to diverticulitis, irritable bowel syndrome, inflammatory bowel syndrome, or just a food sensitivity. And so if you can't do nuts or seeds, a couple things if you can't now, and here's a situation too. Some people that can't do nuts and seeds, if it's an allergy, they can't do what I'm fixing to say. If it's not an allergy, but it's just a digestive issue, sometimes you can get pre-soaked like raw almonds that will really help the digestive process. You can have, for example, legumes or your beans, and you can pre-soak those beans for 8 to 12 hours and help improve the digestion. So if you can't have nuts or seeds, though, I would say the best thing to do is consume flaxseed oil. So not the flax seed, but the oil. And I would say also increase omega-3 fatty acids by taking a good fish oil, EPA and DHA. And I think you'll have some benefit with that. And use coconut oil.
Good. Hey, Rennie's asking about a paleo diet. Is it anti-inflammatory? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, and there's two schools of thought out there. The paleo diet is probably the biggest trend in the diet world right now. Um, I am kind of a fan of what Dr. Alex Vasquez, who is just a great clinician researcher, he talks about a supplemented paleo-Mediterranean diet. So you actually take some of the Mediterranean diet, the paleo diet, you kind of combine these things. The paleo diet alone, some of the risks that people have or the concerns they have is that it does affect thyroid hormone in a negative way. I think, however, what it does a good job of is getting people into a very rigid, structured way of eating to help them rethink and reframe their way of eating. And so I would say try it. Watch your energy. Watch your mood. If those stabilize and improve, it's probably going to be okay for you. If you find that you're crashing, you're burning, you're getting irritable and crabby. Now, when you make a lifestyle change, you're going to have a challenge for the first 7 to 10 days. But beyond that, you should start to see improvement. And if you're not, that might be something that you're missing. You might need to add in a couple more fats or different things like that. There is a book out. I've not read it completely yet, but the Paleo Code, that's kind of I like Chris Kresser's approach. I don't agree with everything he has to say, but his approach is trying to individualize it for you, and that's the important thing I think we need to understand. Everybody's different, and make it individual.
That's good. Hey, Doc, we've got your website up here. Can you tell a little bit about folks can go there and sign up for a free newsletter, right?
Yeah, go to my website. Right on the side there, you can put your name in, your email address, sign up for a free newsletter. When you sign up, I'll actually automatically send you what we call the eight simple tips to healthy eating. It's the Go Smart, GOSSMART. Yes, I realize there's two S's, but we did that on purpose. But it's 8 simple steps to healthy eating. We'll send that to you, and We'll go from there.
Good.
And tell your wife, yes, I do miss her. I just saw
Yeah.
this little deal on the side, on the bottom there.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Hey, we're about out of time, Dr. Charles. You know what? I got to tell you how blessed we are to have you, and we're already hearing public outcry. You've got to be on our show. So let's get together and schedule you to be on again if you'd be so kind to do
I
that.
would love that.
This has definitely been amazing information for our viewers, and I absolutely I'm so thankful that you've taken the time to be with us today. And
Well,
I
thank you.
did also want to and thank you for being here, and definitely go check out his website, sign up for that newsletter. He's got so much information there. Like Matt said, he's a walking Bible. I did want to mention that Matt has taken a couple of days off for some personal reasons. He's not skipping the show. He'll be back soon, and we're thankful that everybody was here with us today. We've got a few questions that are left over. We'll get to those in future shows, but thanks everyone for being a part of this and asking questions. And everyone, big fan of yours now, Dr. Charles, so thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank y'all so much.
All right, and we'll remember, tomorrow is Tuesday. Tomorrow is life coaching and motivation, so join us at 11 o'clock Eastern time. You can check out the archives at fuelforsuccess.tv. Thanks, everyone. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.